Okay, good afternoon. My name is Steve Smith. I'm CEO and co-founder of Intellispark. I want to thank everybody for taking time during the week before 4th of July to join us for this conversation about ScholarCentric Intellispark. I just want to give a couple of housekeeping details as we start. First is that the meeting is being recorded for folks who were not able to join us. So if you do not want to be in the recording, feel free to turn off your video, but you're also welcome to leave your video on if you wish. When you entered the meeting, you were on mute, but there will be an opportunity to ask questions. It's a relatively small group. There'll be about 20 or 25 of us. So if you do want to ask a question, just unmute yourself. And when you do, please introduce yourself and the organization that you're with. We've scheduled about 45 minutes for this conversation, but this is not one and done. So if we can't get to everyone's question today, or if you have questions that you think about after the fact, we'll make sure to provide contact information as we go so that you have a way to get in touch with us afterward. But again, thank you for coming this week, and appreciate making time, as I know that this is a time of year where people are looking forward to summer holidays in many cases. So as I said, my name is Steve Smith. I am one of the co-founders of the business. I've worked in education for about 25 years in various roles. My parents were both educators. Dad was a high school principal. Mom was an elementary school teacher. I was an adjunct faculty member at Johns Hopkins and at Montgomery College in Maryland. And I was a co-founder of a company called Naviance. I also served until last month as the chair of the board of a nonprofit college access and success organization called College Possible. So I really appreciate the work that educators do, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to work alongside so many powerful educators. I'd also just like to introduce Scott Solberg and ask him to share his background as well.
Hi, everybody. So Scott Solberg, I've been a professor now at Boston University for 10 years, but before that was out at Milwaukee, where I helped design and created the assessment tools and the ScholarCentric and Success Highways curriculum. So really, really excited to be working with Stephen, still doing a lot of research on whole school design for helping all of our youth find their own pathways towards success. And the work that they're doing here at Intellispark seems like just such a natural fit for the work that I'm doing, but also I think a great resource for everybody. So glad to be on the call today. Thanks,
Scott. And I've been aware of ScholarCentric for a number of years, and so it was just a tremendous opportunity when it became available, and and an even better opportunity when we knew that it came with Scott, and we had a chance to work with him on this. Also want to acknowledge on the phone or on the call today, we have Bonnie Williams, who've been working with many of you at ScholarCentric for the last several years. And we also are fortunate that Bonnie has agreed to follow ScholarCentric to Intellispark as well. So we're excited to be working with her. We really felt like in many ways, ScholarCentric has been a leader in social emotional learning, really almost ahead of its time. Obviously, social emotional learning has come into its own in the last couple of years, and really even more so during the pandemic. But we're excited to be able to build on this legacy of success over the course of almost a decade, and really more if you look at the lineage of the research, and be able to take that to another level over the course of our time together with Intellispark. So this is really built on the premise, and what interested us is that we're here because we recognize the importance of social emotional development and healthy social emotional development to students' success in school. And that was true for us at Intellispark before ScholarCentric, but it was just really a hand in glove fit as we looked at ScholarCentric's work and what we've been trying to accomplish with Intellispark. So what I'd like to do this afternoon is give you a very quick overview in maybe 10 minutes or less of what it is that Intellispark is, so that you can have a sense for how these fit together. Then we'll talk briefly about what's staying the same, as well as what we anticipate will change, but also recognize that this is early days in combining ScholarCentric and Intellispark. And so there are some things that are not yet decided, or that we will need to work out as we move forward together. So we'll tell you what we know. We'll tell you where we haven't been able to make a decision yet, but really encourage the conversation, and you'll help us to identify areas where we may need to spend some more time thinking through implications. But Intellispark is a 4-year-old company now that works with about 300 schools around the country, and that really provides a technology platform that's meant to be a comprehensive community-wide student support platform. It consists of 3 main components. The first is what we describe as a 360-degree view of the student, recognizing that many schools, or all schools really, will have a student information system that tracks things like attendance and behavior and grades. They may have a learning management system that tracks course assignments and whether students have completed certain activities. But getting the human view of all of the issues going on with a particular child is sometimes spread across many different systems. And in fact, for most of the schools that we work with, they've created Google Sheets or online spreadsheets with Microsoft 365 to try to combine information from different sources and give them that 360-degree view. We've tried to build something that's simpler. Second component, practical measures, because it's really critical that schools have a structured way to measure social emotional learning and well-being. And so we've provided that, and we've provided it through some very short instruments that can be done repeatedly through the course of a year, and that we'll be working to align with the ScholarCentric instruments over the course of the coming school year. And then third, recognizing that so much of student support really comes in the form of team interaction between counselors and teachers and social workers and psychologists and community providers. We wanted to really build the system from the perspective that it would have to coordinate activity across teams. And so that's really core to the way we've built it. And the text here at the bottom about having data isn't enough. It's what you do about the data that matters is really core to how we think about what it is that we need to build and provide. This is a quick screenshot from something we call Student Hub. So when we talk about a 360-degree view, you can see this is a little bit of what we're trying to get at. We want to personalize and humanize that relationship that you have with each of your students. And so give you a way to get to know who the student is, what they're passionate about, see some positive feedback about things that have been going on, make it really easy to share additional positive feedback through something we call high fives, and also make it easy to raise a flag or a concern that can be followed up with other members of the team. These surveys that I mentioned can be delivered through a desktop device, through a smartphone, or through a tablet. So all of those have been designed to be mobile responsive, and the same will be true with ScholarCentric, which will roll out with a similar interface. Once a survey is completed, those results will appear on the Student Hub, and you can also view aggregate results for groups of students, whether that be an entire class or an entire grade level or an entire school. And then recognizing that teachers already have a plethora of different technology tools that they're working with, we wanted to design something that was easy to reach people where they were. So for many schools that implement Intellispark, the student support team may be logging into the system on a regular basis, but many teachers will get updates from the system through email that they're already using. So this is just an example of an activity digest automatically developed weekly by the system, personalized by the system, and is sent out in email so a teacher can get a quick update via Gmail or Microsoft Office or whatever the platform is that they're using, so that we can reach them where they are. And if they're interested in digging deeper, they can click on any of those links and go directly to the live activity feed that's part of the Intellispark product. Intellispark Starter, which includes the 360-degree view, the quick check surveys, the high fives for positive feedback, as well as Google single sign-on, is available at no charge to any school that wants to sign up. And so that's essentially the platform that we're providing with ScholarCentric going forward. And then for additional features around this team-based support, follow-ups, referrals, action items, things like that, that's part of something we call Intellispark Professional, which is $4 per student at a minimum of about $2,000 per school. So that hopefully gives you a very, very quick overview of Intellispark and maybe starts to signal a little bit of why we would have been interested in something like ScholarCentric. And so with that, I want to flip to this next part of the conversation, which is really what's staying the same and what's changing. And I'd invite Scott to tag team with me on this. But in terms of what's staying the same is we felt it was really important to protect that which made ScholarCentric innovative and attractive in the first place. And for us, these 6 resiliency skills that are core to the platform, the commitment to evidence-based practices and to a student-friendly set of assessments were really critical for us. And then as a commitment to existing customers, we wanted you to know that we wanted to maintain your existing pricing for this new renewal, unless our new pricing plans are more favorable, in which case you'll get the more favorable pricing. So that's really, in a nutshell, what's staying the same. And Scott, I don't know if there's anything that you wanted to add.
Sure, and we certainly want to get questions from you as well to clarify some things you might want to know more about. But I'm excited about this. The challenge we had in when we first designed this many companies ago was having a platform that would allow us the flexibility to be more responsive to the questions you all have. There's certain times you've asked for certain changes, you've asked for certain flexibility in the system, and the way it was originally designed, unfortunately, it was early in the phases of trying to build these interactive assessment systems. It just never afforded that. And now with Intellispark, I'm really excited because they have that kind of flexible system where they're plugging the items in. Right now, we're looking at the items to see what more we can do and looking at smaller little kind of formative assessment measures that might support you all as you're trying to just see periodically how students are doing. And they're going to be re-looking at the way in which we report the data back to you. So can we improve on the kinds of dashboard analytics? And that's one of the areas I'm most excited about, is to see from Intellispark's experience, how can we do this in a way that both empowers you, but also empowers the family and students to really use the information in effective ways. So everything's going to be there, and it's going to be better is the way I'm looking at it and what I'm so excited about. Stephen and his partner Sean, who's working on this, they came to me many months ago to talk about the vision and the philosophy and the theory that underwrites this, and it was clear that they're on the same page we are in terms of what we need to be providing our youth. So really hoping you're going to get as excited as I am about this, but also really starting from now, questions and ideas and stuff you have would be great to learn more about.
Thanks, Scott. And that, I think, does a good job of teeing up this slide about what's changing. And there are only 2 slides left in the presentation. So I encourage you, as you're processing what we've been talking about, if you have questions, we're looking forward to answering them. But in terms of what's changing, Scott mentioned the technology platform. And so we're building this on top of the Intellispark platform that we've developed over the last several years. And so that's going to give us a lot of flexibility in terms of how we present the assessments, how we present the results of the assessments, and then how we tie those assessments into the functionality for tracking action items and follow-ups and interventions, things like that in school. So we're very excited about the potential and really to extend what we have built. Second is we have a warehouse full of printed materials, printed lesson guides and journals that we have carried forward from ScholarCentric, and those remain available for now. We are exploring, as we've heard a lot of feedback from folks about the need for digital resources. We're looking at the best way to try to digitize those resources going forward. And so welcome your thoughts and input on how to do that. We recognize that some of what's there lends itself to recommendations that we can provide to teachers or counselors or advisors. And so we're really excited about doing that. We've got some ideas there, but also feel like there are some student activities from the journal that may lend themselves to online activity as well. And so interested in any thoughts that you have. With respect to naming, we are going to brand the programs as the Intellispark SEL and Resiliency Program and the Intellispark College and Career Readiness Program. You'll see reference to Success Highways by ScholarCentric within the product, but we're going to consolidate under the Intellispark brand so that we just don't stretch ourselves too thin in terms of our marketing work. Pricing and packaging, we've heard a lot of feedback about trying to simplify the pricing and packaging. And so here we have combined pre and post into one package. So when you purchase the Intellispark SEL and Resiliency Program, that will consist of the pre and post assessments. You can get that for the grade 3 to 5 age range or the grade 6 to 12 age range. Regardless, it's $10 per student for use over a 12-month period, and the same price for the CCR program. Contact information has changed because it's a new company. So the contact information for Intellispark is listed here. It'll be listed again at the end of the presentation and we'll follow up with you in email as well, just so that you have that contact information readily available. But as for now, that's really it in terms of what we believe is changing. We're really, as I said, trying to focus on continuity and making sure that what you had is something that we can replicate going into the fall. And the last slide I have really is just to give you a sense of timeline. So we're at this stage right now, farthest at the left, what we're calling pre-work, where we have Scott and Bonnie joining the team, where we're taking on sales support and renewals for ScholarCentric. This next stage to be completed by the end of August is to retire the ClearPath technology platform and make sure that the SEL and resiliency and CCR assessments are available on Intellispark. So that's where we're focusing the bulk of our attention over the course of the next 2 months. And that's also when we'll introduce these first reports out of Intellispark. So I just want to highlight that, because when ClearPath is retired, the information that's currently on ClearPath will no longer be available. So you should download reports that are on ClearPath before August 31st. And we will communicate that again several times before we get to the August 31st deadline. But I just wanted to mention that because this is a completely new technology platform. That information will not move over. Third stage is going to be a deeper integration. That's where I mentioned some of these recommendations that come out of the lesson plans that are part of the SEL program and the CCR program. We think that there's a really great opportunity to incorporate those into those weekly emails that we're sending to teachers and advisors. So that we're targeting toward the end of the year. And then March and into the future are a bit more speculative, where we're really going to be influenced by the kinds of feedback that we're getting from you as you're using the product going into next school year. We have some early ideas here, but really all of that's subject to change as we get more input. So with that, I said I would try to move through quickly and make sure that we had time for questions. And so really have left the remainder of our time together for Q&A, and invite anyone who wants to ask a question in the chat, feel free to do that. If you want to speak up live, you're welcome to do that as well. But just, again, thank you for joining us today. And if we answered everything that was on your mind and you want to get back to summer and prepare for July 4th festivities, that's fine too.
Sean? You're on mute, Sean. Sean, you're on mute.
Apologize, I thought I took it on. Sean Galvin, LaGuardia Community College, Liberty Partnership Program. With regard to clearing the ClearPath files, I understand the necessity for it, but some of us only got a chance to do the Part A test of Success Highways and still have the Part B, and maybe we've even paid for the Part B, but we're unable to implement it due to COVID. What does that leave me?
So that's a great question. I'll have to check into that, to be honest, with Graduation Alliance, but regardless, we'll figure out a solution for your situation. So can you just give me a sense of how many students we're talking about?
Oh, in my particular case, 2 buildings, probably 100 in each building. So I'm looking at maybe 200 Part B.
Okay. All right, we'll take that back and get back to you. I know that Graduation Alliance has offered some flexibility with respect to the timeline based on what we encounter here. So if we need to leave ClearPath active for a little while longer, Graduation Alliance may be able to support that. Otherwise, we'll come up with another solution for you so that you can get those Part B assessments completed.
Thank you.
Yeah, is Catherine?
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
I'm curious about the weekly emails and reports to advisors and teachers. What kind of information will that contain? And quite frankly, I can see our teachers just delete, that it would be too much, maybe. What exactly is it?
Well, the purpose of Intellispark is really to keep everybody who's on a student support team informed. And so those weekly digests are meant to summarize activity in Intellispark. If there isn't activity in Intellispark, then you're not going to have a update to share. And so if you're using the platform solely to do the SEL assessment or the CCR assessment, the report will just be generated as is. People can get that report online, and that's it. So it's not that we're going to keep sending information to the same information to the teacher every week.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Stephanie Thompson from Syracuse University's LPP program. I just have one question regarding the pricing. One of the differences is that you're combining the pre and the post assessment. And I'm wondering if there's any way where, we don't have to combine the two. There were times where we would just assess the student once, and then therefore we only paid for the one assessment. So I'm wondering if that's still an option, or if it's not at this point.
Right. So it's not going to be an option going forward. You don't have to administer the second assessment. But as I said, also, we are honoring the existing pricing for this renewal. So you're not going to have to pay any more money for your renewal this year than you would have paid before. So, we'll cap that at, and I don't know the specifics of your situation, but, we'll honor whatever you paid in the last 12-month period. But the goal was just to have a kind of simpler offering going forward. And rather than add the cost of pre and post together, we sort of came to a middle point and wanted to standardize around that. Jacqueline?
Hi, I'm Jackie Smith from Purchase College LPP, along with Sean. It's kind of an add-on to Sean's request to extend the time that the reports would be available. I know that part of LPP's policy is they do a final report that is going to come somewhere along the line of maybe October to possibly December, something like that. And so a lot of times we have to double check who's done assessment, who hasn't. We run the reports, and then based on who has it and who's continuing, then that's how we fill in the space with who needs it now, the updating of the reporting. So I just want to reiterate what Sean said. Hopefully we can extend it. And then in terms of the format, so in the past you kind of downloaded everything, or I downloaded everything to Excel or PDF. Is there a more digital friendly version that's coming? And if so, that would be super great. I'm just curious about what's in store.
Yeah, so can I ask you a follow-up question just on the reporting availability? So these are students who they're in progress, they've done the pre-assessment, they need to come back and do the post. Is that the issue?
It's more or less, I want to make sure that they've done the pre-assessment. Like, I need everyone to have done the pre-assessment. Some people may not have done the post-assessment, but I at least need everyone completed with the pre-assessment. And so this is when I double back and say, hey, this is who I missed on the first go around. I call up Bonnie, or someone calls up Bonnie from my office, and Bonnie, we need more. And then that's kind of how it goes for us.
Okay, well, I will get in touch with the folks from Graduation Alliance who are responsible for ClearPath, and we'll figure out a solution that we'll get back to you on that, since there's sort of two parts to the question. One is, if you've got students who've completed it already, you need to still know who they are and that that's done.
Correct.
And then you also need a way for the students who haven't completed it to be able to complete it. And ideally, we'd be able to have them do that in the same platform that the first group of students used, so that you can have all the reports look exactly the same. So I think, is that the essence of the question?
That's the gist of it. Yes. Yes. Sean's nodding. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, Sean.
Yeah, no, that's super helpful. Thank you for that. And I'll get back to you guys in email after I've had a chance to circle back with Graduation Alliance and figure out a good solution there.
And I just want to add one thing. I really want to shout out Bonnie, because she's really instrumental in communicating with us and letting us know if something's about to expire. We're begging, like, please give us 1 more month, give us 2 more weeks, Bonnie. I can get these kids to finish. So Bonnie, thank you for your hard work, your support. I'm glad you're coming over because I know I need you. Without this, she reminded me, hey, we sent you the, sign it, send it in. What are you doing? I'm over here working on budgets, as all of us are. And she's like, send in your signed document, lady. I'm like, thanks, Bonnie. So just, you have a gem. Thank you for bringing her over and offering her support for us.
Well, we're so glad that she was willing to come over. So we appreciate that.
Yeah.
And the second part of your question had to do with digital reporting and a sort of more digital way of reporting. So Intellispark has a whole series of reports today, and they are all online reports. So if you can sort of visualize the idea that there's a list of students, you can, on an ad hoc basis, select all students, you could select some students, you could select students in a class, and you click a button that we call Insights, and that generates a report that you can pull up, and you can look at readiness indicators, well-being indicators, social emotional development indicators. It's that exact same reporting framework that we'll be using for the scholar-centric assessments. So I guess what the product is digital by nature in that sense. I guess the related question is, I'm curious, and one of the things we're going to want to get feedback from the existing user community is, how important are things like PDF or Excel exports of those reports, or if you had a way to send a link to somebody to look at a report online, is that better? I'm just curious if anybody's got a perspective on that.
All of those options are still good. Sorting by, being able to sort in Excel was good. So I'm not going to dismiss it. Having a link would be, even if I can sort and send a link, that's great. All of those options are awesome.
Okay. Well, right now, what we definitely have today is the ability to do these reports online, and you can sort because the columns are all clickable. So you'll get that kind of capability. And we'll be looking at Excel export, PDF export, CSV export, Google Sheets export. So lots of different ways to get that information out and to deliver a link to somebody so that they can download that locally. In your experience, are you typically presenting results, or are people working with results kind of individually?
My schools use the reports to substantiate the program to their administrators on some level, because they always want to see what the students are doing in our program. So we have site staff, school counselors at the schools who are, in my case, delivering the programming, and then they just add another layer of what they, of their importance, or how they're serving the students to their administration. So it's a really good tool on that level, but it's also a really good tool so that it's like a roadmap for, okay, if our students are showing that they're not connected, okay, let's do a team building activity. We're going to the ropes course, or, so it's all of that.
Yeah, that's great. And, I think also would like to invite, as you're thinking about ways in which you've been working with the product over the course of the last couple of years, if there are things that you've had to do, and I don't know whether you have, but I'm imagining if your schools are trying to get a sense and of sort of overall view, and they want to see, quick report of who still has to get their assessment done, or if you wanted to see kind of a pie chart of like percentage complete, things like that you might have been creating on your own to go along with the information that you were providing from these Excel reports. It'd be great to have that kind of information as well, because that will help to inform us on what we should prioritize building for you as we incorporate ScholarCentric into the Intellispark platform. Yes, sir.
For example, ScholarCentric had the 6 key indicators, but then they sent a second one that broke each of the 6 into 3, so it was 18. Will you continue that breakdown?
Yes, yes, we do. And Scott, I don't know if you've got anything that you wanted to add in terms of very early thoughts that we have on additional research, or.
Yeah, no, so yeah, Sean, they're going to keep the 18 on that one. As you know, some of the other measures, if you've seen them, do not go into that level of detail necessarily. So That's because we did shorter, we're trying to get briefer measures. And so with that, you can't have that level of granularity. Yeah, and we're going to continue doing some research and looking at items. We'll probably come back to some of you to say what are suggestions you have on some of the item development. There's a couple of areas I think we can add a couple items, and there might be some areas we can tighten. So Intellispark's really invested in really keeping this measure as tight as we can. Now that the SEL world has really improved, we can also look at some new areas that we can go into as well. So we're excited, but keeping it down to that level. And where I think we're going to be growing into, you know, when we first did Success Highways, there was nothing on the market. We couldn't even explain what resiliency was because no one could understand it. No one could understand why it would be relevant. I mean, it was amazing how hard that was. Well, now everyone's talking it, and there's a lot of stuff out there. So we're also going to be trying to figure out ways we can support you all in taking a look at when certain things come up for our youth. What are some activities and lessons and free access materials you might go to, as well as taking a look at really deconstructing the current Success Highways piece. We have all kinds of activities in there. The back matter itself had all kinds of fun things, and we'll try to find a way to make it more dynamic and interactive in an online setting. So we're going to be trying to take those 18 indicators and try to help you think about what you might do to support a student around some of the very specifics of those. So that's the plan. I'm excited about that. It's going to be a fun journey. And Bonnie's been great through the years working with her and getting feedback from you all. And so she's a great conduit. But I think what will be exciting now, Bonnie, is we can also create some little conversations, you know, in terms of really getting into this, the details of what will improve the product as we go forward. So.
Thanks, Scott. Any remaining questions? Will unused licenses be carried over to Intellispark? Looks like we were asked in the chat. So we'll work with you on that. So our understanding from Graduation Alliance is that they believed that all of the licenses would have expired by the time that, except in 2 cases that I'm aware of, they believe that all of the licenses would have expired by August 31st. If that's not the case, for your particular situation, do let us know and we'll figure out a solution. Yeah.
If I can jump in, so then does that mean if we still have licenses available, we can use them in our summer programming?
Yes, that's right. So ClearPath remains available and you can continue to use anything that's available to you in ClearPath through August 31st.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Terrific. So the last slide here, if I could get it to come up, would just be the contact information. And so please make a note of the phone numbers, both toll free and our 703 number here in the DC area, our website, email, and Twitter. But really, thank you so much for your time today, and really do encourage you, as other questions come up, as they inevitably will, anytime you're combining products, there are going to be questions. And so please don't hesitate to reach out to us, to Bonnie, if she's been your point of contact, and we'll make sure that we get an answer to you as quickly as possible. So with that, Scott, do you have any closing comments?
No, very excited about this shift. I hope you all can see we've got a really exciting company that's going to move us forward. And I think I can't wait to see what we can all do together. So thank you so much.
Can I ask one more question?
Oh, sure.
Quick. Thank you, because I know, you know, what's actually part one is with the pricing again.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so I'm clear, it's $4 per student, and then it's $10 for the pre and post test. Is that so? It's $14.
No, so there are 2 versions of Intellispark. There's Intellispark Starter, which is free. And there's Intellispark Pro, which is $4 a student. Intellispark Pro includes functionality for student support, tracking, and interventions, and et cetera. But if you're interested specifically in what had been Success Highways, that's $10 a student. You can use that on top of the free version of Intellispark. So it's just the $10. Or you could use it in conjunction with the professional version of Intellispark, and then it would be the $4 plus the 10.
Okay, great. And also, are you going to be providing like training and so forth, or do we need that, or is it just kind of going to be a nice cross?
Yeah, so I have a couple colleagues with me who are on this call today, and I don't know if they are, they were at the beginning. I'd have to check and see if they're still here. But Mary Dockin and Trisha Gagnon, who are both on our team who work on implementation. And so they're available to new schools when they start up with us, and new organizations and programs when they start up with us. But we've really worked hard to try to make the platform as easy as possible to onboard. And so, particularly if the situation is using it solely to administer the assessments, it should be a very straightforward process of upload a CSV file with student names and then click through to assign the assessment to those students. And that is it. So hopefully we've made that as simple and streamlined as possible, but we can, as we get closer to launching the integrated version later this summer, we'll have some online resources. We'll probably put together a video and a couple slides just to show people exactly how that will work and how they can make the transition from Clear.
And hi, Steve, this is Trisha here, lurking in the background. I wanted to say hi to everyone. We're very excited to have you with us, and I think you're really going to enjoy this new way of working with these great assessments. And I am happy to answer your questions at any time, show you what the professional looks like, but just help you on board, answer any technical questions that you may have. So I may be answering if you reach out to one of these places, numbers or emails here. So welcome, and look forward to working with you.
All right. Well, thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your week and the holiday weekend, and you can keep a lookout for emails from us. And in the cases where there were specific questions that we'll follow up, we'll be back in touch with you personally. So thanks. Bye-bye.